connect with people on a deeper level. It's not about the sale. Who cares about the sale? If you're just money focused, you're going to have commission breath. If you have commission breath, you're going to lose the sale because all that's driving you is closing the deal because you forced it. And I don't know how many of you have ever done that in your career, but in 24 years of real estate, let me tell you, before I learned this, I was trying to force deals. And whenever you push, something will break. So what goes into developing these relationships on a subconscious level? I don't know how many of you are familiar with mirroring and matching techniques. Okay, so we have some people, right? And that was part of what I was talking about with the physiology. But when you have a framework where you're never lost in your conversation with somebody, then you can start to run that physiology with them. And then they're going to all of a sudden on a subconscious level go, well, that person's more like me. And if that person's more like me, who do we want to or tend to hang out with? People that are more like us. And then there's just natural ability to connect on so many levels. And then I talk about empowering language because I don't know how many of you, but in real estate, if you say the wrong words, you will just destroy the rapport it's taken you however long it's taken to build it up. And one word said at the wrong time will destroy everything you have. So when I talk about words are things, word empowerment, when you say something to someone, like if somebody came to me and said, you know what, I can't do this is a waste of time, my credit score's 580. And I said, you know what, you're right, you can't do this. Call me in 6 months when you fixed your credit. Versus, well, your credit score's at 580. Who's actually helping you through the process to fix that? Is there anybody in credit repair that you've already contacted? And that's what most people will do. So now you've started offering solutions. And when you offer solutions to people, that will allow them to feel like you're actually giving them guidance. Because real estate isn't just about putting a sign up and then sign down because you have a sale. It's a multi-level, multi-layered approach that has so much emotion tied to it. And it's such a big purchase. And so many things are going on. And you are their counselor, you're their attorney, you're their finance person, you're their best friend. You're like a hairdresser, is what you become. But it's a lot more expensive for that haircut if you do something wrong. So when you empower people through an ability to take them through a sales cycle and fix everything, because some people will be perfect, they're W-2, they have all the money in the world, there's no problem, everything's great. But still in that process, while you're going through the selling transaction, something comes up in the home inspection. And then you have to renegotiate the contract on their behalf. And they know that you have their back because of the way you framed it. You're on the same team. So when you can take that, show them you're on the same team and paint them a picture. Everything is visual. Whatever we say will trigger some sort of a visual memory in our brain. And if the memory is positive, then people are going to feel that slide deck in their brain that they remember from great encounters with people that took care of them. That's what's going to become present and top of mind. And we want to run towards things that make us feel secure and empowered versus people that are all about them, ego-driven, it's all about the sale, because people can feel that. So that's why I was saying in the beginning, what my dad taught me, all of these things, he also taught paint them a picture. When you paint them a picture, now you can help them visualize moving into the house, that you've actually taken care of them through the process, that you're going to have a welcome party for them, that just because the sale closes, you never disappear. You're there for all of their needs. And when you align yourself with what makes people comfortable, safe, and secure, then they're also going to refer you. Because we're lazy. We're absolutely lazy individuals. We don't want to go and research 8 different companies. Some people will, bless you, but not everybody wants to. People want to feel like they've been taken care of, that they've been heard. And once you take that and you show them how you're going to do that in a professional fashion and in a way that they're comfortable with, then they're going to stick with you. And how do you know? How do you know that this is happening? And this has been like my own personal secret weapon, physiology. So I don't know how many of you have ever been in a conversation where you're talking about whatever your service is, and that person in front of you is so engaged that their eyes are actually bigger, their pupils are also enlarged, they hardly move away from you, it's almost like they're in a trance, and they're nodding their head yes, while they're believing in what you're telling them. That is the simplest way to know if you've got somebody that truly believes in you and your service and that you're going to take care of them. And I keep saying take care of them because that is one of the most important parts of what we're trying to achieve. When you're going through anything, buying a car, buying a house, selling anything, you want to know that the process is going to be secure. Even when you sell something, you want to know that you're going to get your money. I don't know how many of you ever bought like tickets online from Craigslist, and you press click and you send the money and you pray to God you're going to get the tickets, right? Versus why does Ticketmaster or all these other places excel? Because they offer a level of certainty, even though they charge you outrageous amounts for a processing fee. Or Uber during times where we know it's going to be exceptionally expensive because it's those critical hours, but we'll still pay more because we can see when the ride shows up. And why Yellow Cab hasn't changed, I have no idea, right? But everything is about that physiological understanding, because when somebody is not with you because you said the wrong word, you talked about the wrong thing politically, you said something that was really focused on you instead of them, then you're going to notice a recoil in their physiology. You're going to notice that they look past you. You're going to notice that they start to look at their watch, or they're just kicking their knee while they're sitting at the table, and you're always working on getting their attention back. And what actually starts to happen is you start talking faster, because selling is not telling, but when you're lost, you start to just talk and talk and talk. And there's a statistic out there that it was done by over 500,000 agents from one of the real estate coaches who studied conversations between agents and prospects and what happened. And the below average agent did 72% of the talking, the average agent did 68% of the talking, and the exceptional agent did 42% of the talking. Because everything is about listening. When you're having these conversations with people, what are you actually trying to figure out a solution to? Why are they coming to you in the first place? And if you just ask, when I do a listing presentation, before I even open up my book, I just go, I have all of this here that I can go over at any point in time, but what's important to you? And then I just shut up. And people will tell you everything. And if you just pay attention to everything, your physiology also has to be engaged with them, right? So you can't be looking at your watch. You can't be thinking, oh my God, I have to get back to that football game, as opposed to helping this person. Your physiology must also be engaged to show them that you're showing up for them. So much of what we do in our own engagement with our friends, with our family, with people we don't even know, how do we turn strangers into these people that we have in our lives? It's all about relationship-based type of personalities, selling, understanding who they are, and you put these traits together, and then you start to figure out what's important, and now you can move through a relationship with almost no resistance. So I wanted to just have this interactive part talking about physiology, and this is my own little play, right? Like, it's so obvious, but if you don't have an acronym or some sort of a script that you're following, if you're not engaging in mirroring and matching techniques, and you're not using empowering language to get people to buy into you, who you are, what your service really offers as far as a solution, then you're going to miss this. And I've kind of mixed up these slides for you, because while you're engaged with me, does that look really happy? Does this look scared?
No.
Right? Can't wait to hear what you have. Does that look tired? So when you mess up in the beginning of not understanding how to have a conversation because you don't have a framework, you don't have an acronym, you don't have a script, if you're not able to mirror and match and get into that person's world and connect with them at their cadence, at their pitch, using words that's going to connect you and bind you to them, then you're going to miss physiology. And the reason I put these so blatantly out of sorts on this projection screen is because you're going to miss that. You're going to miss the cues where people are actually telling you that they're no longer engaged with you. And if you miss that, what do you have? Because you're no longer memorable. And people work with people that they're excited to work with people that they're going to have conversations about to other people once they're gone. They'll talk to their spouses about it or their business partners, and they're going to be telling them, you're going to be blown away when you meet so-and-so. I can't believe what they have to offer. And by the way, they're really cool, right? That actually factors into all of this. Because if you're missing the physiology piece of what's going to connect you and bind you to somebody, then you're missing whether you're on or you're off with them. And that on-off switch is so delicate in any service-based business that do you really want to keep hunting for new prospects that you have to convert all the time? Or would you rather know how to take what you have, develop a relationship with them, pay attention to whether or not you actually have them, and if you don't, have the wherewithal to stop the conversation and bring them back. Because if you don't bring them back, then as soon as you leave, you're done. And I don't know what it costs you to get in front of that client in the first place. You do analytics, so you know what all of that is like, acquisition cost, time of sale, everything. When you start to study all of these metrics, what does it cost you to repeat what you're doing over and over and over again in order to hope that they say yes to your service? That cost is exponential because it's not just in talking to a new lead. What time did you give up with your family? What time did you give up with your friends? What time did you give up for yourself personally? So I work so incredibly hard to be so connected to all of this because when I'm meeting with somebody, I want to be on in all respects. I want to be engaged in all respects. I want to leave value so that after I'm gone, I actually enlighten that person with something that they had no idea they should even be thinking about. And when you do that for people, then you're not going to miss any of these physiological cues because they're going to be warm, happy, engaging. They'll be leaning on a table. They won't be blinking much. Their eyes will be wide. And when you can do all of that, and even if you're not in front of them, you can hear that in their voice and their own engagement with you if it's a client-based call on the phone. And so as we move through all of that, I just need to really express that those cues are clues. And if you're going to fail forward, now that you've all just had the ability to understand that this is what happens in a process, pay attention to the next client engagement that you have. Pay attention to their voice. Pay attention to how they're asking you questions. Pay attention to the way they respond to you. Because if they're going to be responding at length versus yes or no type answers, then they're really engaging with you. And if they're only saying yes or no, and they feel like this is just a waste of time, then you have to be able to just stop that and be brave enough to say, what did I miss? What's going on? This might not be the right service, or something's going on right here, and that's okay. But what did I miss? Because if you're not able to learn from any of the mistakes that we make along the way, because none of us are perfect, no matter how long I've been doing this, there are still moments in time where I'm 90% there, but that 10% can be the dominant part that takes me out of the game. So you have to be able to pay attention to reading someone, some group, some audience, some organization, because what's in it for them is also really important. One of the things that I do for daily training is Roleplay changed my life. So how do you do these things? How do you learn? Because you just can't learn by accident. And for years, I'd be on Roleplay calls in the morning from 8:30 to 9. And we would go Monday, Wednesday, Friday with buyer scenarios, Tuesday, Thursday with selling scenarios. And those scenarios were all specific objections and objection handlers. And I took for granted that I had my peers on there, and these were all recorded, and I would get live feedback. I took for granted that this was happening in my office. I thought this was normal. So how many of you are doing anything like this on a normal basis? So you're doing role play? Anybody else doing anything that gives you real-time feedback in how you're actually showing up? So who's doing the homework? And the reason I'm saying help me help you is because so many people don't have a process. And I want to have you guys go to a survey, and this is case sensitive, and I'd love for you to pull out your phones because there's about 4 questions there that are going to help me just understand what's missing in business. Not just from what I understand, but what you're missing. From a rating to this, to what's going on in your daily practice, how are you doing your follow-up, what are the #1 challenges that you have in your business. And I want to offer those things to you because so many people don't have a process or a sales manager that they believe in. And if you don't have a leader that's taking you to a place where they can actually give you content that you believe in, then you're just stuck on your own, figuring it out by yourself. And when you're doing that, you'll typically give up at some point, or you'll achieve your own level of what you believe is okay versus greatness, because nobody is taking you to the next level. And if no one's taking you to the next level, then you're just lost. And when you're lost, what do you do? What do we do when we're afraid of anything? We avoid it. I avoid things. I'm not perfect at any of this. This is stuff that I'm good at because I've trained so hard at it, but there are things that I resist still, right? Try to get me to be more organized. It's impossible. This would never happen without my assistant here. Impossible. I would never put this together, right? So also leverage your strengths. But if you're not focusing on what's going to leverage your strengths, if you're not going to focus on the bullet holes that actually exist and how you're showing up, then you're only going to achieve a certain level that you want to get to. It's impossible to go further. So, and I'm coached by 3 different people. I have a real estate coach, I have a life coach, and I have a fitness coach. And all of those people, yesterday I worked out with my fitness coach, and he kicks my ass. And yesterday my wife didn't show up, so he kicks my ass harder. And every morning that I go on those days where my wife doesn't show up, I dread it. But I know that he's going to push me to levels that I am just not going to push myself to. It's impossible to push past where we want to stop because our own head is telling us where to stop versus somebody else saying, that's a load of shit. You are so not done. You have so much more. And then you have to suck it up and go, yeah, you're right. I'm just breathing hard on purpose so you hopefully leave me alone. Which a great coach won't. They'll push you through it. So that's what I have in